The consumer has changed. The prospect has changed. The market has changed. People have changed. We are now in a world where we have AI technology, where you can literally plug in anything almost that you want and have real world answers given to you by some of the most professional, sophisticated people in a matter of seconds. And if you don't think that your prospect has access to more information than they've ever had before, if you don't think that your prospect is more sophisticated than they've ever been before, well, just think about how you consume. Just think about how you go out. Just think about the restaurants you choose. Before you go to a restaurant, the first thing you do is you look it up. You go on Yelp, you go on Instagram, you see if other people have liked it, you go on Google, you check the reviews. You are no longer an average consumer. You are now a sophisticated consumer, and yet we still treat our consumers and our prospects like they're from the Stone Age. We still use the tricks and the tips that were from 40 years ago. There are things that we do that just don't make sense. And in this new world, right, in this AI-driven, tech-savvy consumer world that we're in, everybody has access to the information. How do you stand out from the crowd is based off of one thing only, and it's not how much they like you. It's how much do they trust you? How much do they trust that you are going to give them the right information based off of what's good for them, not what's good for you? Too many real estate agents, too many average agents that are going to go out of business, unfortunately. And it pains me to say that because I am a real estate agent. I have been there with Mr. and Mrs. Jones. I know what it's like. Too many of the average real estate agents, unfortunately, aren't changing with the times. They're still using the same tips and tricks that create a tremendous amount of anxiety. Your job as a sales professional is to create safety for the prospect. Your job as a sales professional is to create safety for your client. And the way we do that is by asking phenomenal questions. How do we ask phenomenal questions, Vikram? That's a great question. The way we ask phenomenal questions is by having phenomenal levels of listening. Tony Robbins says in his seminars that if you want to have outstanding results, you have to have extraordinary performance. If you want great results, you have to be beyond average, right? If you want good results, you have to give great service. In this day and age with so much competition, in order for you to stand out in your prospect's mind, they have to fully trust you because you are giving them extraordinary levels of trust. You are creating so much safety for them that it's a no-brainer for them to choose you. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. Even with the top agents, they still use the same tips and tricks. They happen to be a little bit more well-known, so their reputation and brand carries them a long way. But unfortunately, they themselves are still using the tips and the tricks because guess what? They're learning on YouTube from the people that, guess what? Created the systems 30 years ago. And just because it works doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. So what we're going to get into, and I know I've spent a lot of time, I know that we've talked a lot about talking a lot about what we're going to do, but I want you to understand the importance of why we do it. Your consumer expects you to give them an extraordinary experience. And if you don't know how to give them that extraordinary experience, guess what? They're not going to choose you. They're going to give you the objection. We don't make choices on the first day. Chris, we really like you, but we need to interview other people. Sally, you're awesome, but we need to think about it, right? John, you're great, but your fees are a little higher. Would you reduce your commissions? A top sales agent who started to work with me did so because he's getting the trust question. Vikram, why do I get people asking me why don't people trust me? They like me, but why don't they trust me? Right? So there's something missing in the way that he communicates that people like him. He's very likable, but they aren't trusting him. And he wants to change that because he knows he's leaving money on the table. He knows there's people that he's talked to that should have done business with him, but they didn't because for some reason they didn't trust him. And your consumer, right, your prospect isn't going to say, well, Chris, I just don't trust you. They're going to give you an objection, right? We're not ready. We need to think about it. We need to talk to other people. We need to interview other people. We know other agents, right? They're going to give you the objection. And that's going to be the cue that they didn't trust your process enough to move forward with you. So in this world where the consumer knows more than ever, it's your job to make sure that you are delivering an extraordinary experience, because only the top 1% of agents, right? According to NAR, only the top 1% of real estate agents in the US, which I'm going to just roll over to Canada as well, because we have a lot of Canadians that we train, make over $250,000 per year. So if you want to be in the top 1%, which I know you do because that's why you're here, let's keep moving forward.